My friend James O'Keefe, who is the founder and heads up Project Veritas, joins me. James, as always, good to see you. It's stunning how I guess brazen they are that he would think that he's meeting a complete stranger, and he just is so confident in his own bias and so confident in that no one would ever hold media accountable for misrepresenting anything to the American public. They're beyond reproach, and I guess he feels a lot of security and confidence from that, so he was just willing to tell everybody the network's trade secrets. Good job on this video, by the way. Tell me about this, because my favorite part is always when you confront them.
Yeah, Dana. That was some people are comparing that to like Catch a Predator, Chris Hansen.
It wasn't like that, yeah.
He was expecting the undercover person to show up. I showed up, and Project Veritas is all about truth. We're about getting to the bottom of what's going on, and journalism should be about exposing the truth. CNN, in these tapes, it's like as if we hired a person to say all the things we suspected of saying. This is an actual director in the network. And he's on tape saying things like they're trying to put things in people's mouths. They don't let people go on the air unless they take the bait. He said it's propaganda. He said Jeff Zucker calls all the shots, tells them to put the COVID numbers on the screen. More people should die so we have better ratings. He feels bad about it, but he's also participating in it. So this guy kind of is a villain. He's not just an innocent guy stuck in a bad place. He's contributing to the problem. He says, quote, fear sells. Yes. So, this is the problem with journalism. This is not journalism. And because the tech companies prefer CNN and its algorithms, they have tremendous power to spread this gossip, this opinion, he calls it, quote, speculation, what they're reporting. And it's just so devastating, Dana. The implications for society with what this man is saying is just, it sort of transcends everything that's happening in the world because of the power that CNN, the New York Times, Google, Facebook, and Twitter, they all work together to spread this narrative, which this man says, hey, it's all propaganda, it's all speculation.
Wow. Unbelievable. We're talking with James O'Keefe and the latest, Project Veritas's latest expose of CNN and their editorial approaches with this technical director who, this is a guy that in his way, when he's on the set and he's in the control room, he's calling the shots, and he says, everything goes by Jeff Zucker, which I believe to be true. I remember, the town hall at Parkland and being backstage, I guess it was an arena. Jeff Zucker was going to everybody, shaking hands, glad handing, like he was on the red carpet at the Emmys. It was one of the wildest things I've ever seen. And then I watched him as he talked to camera people, which I thought was really odd. And this just kind of goes in line with everything that I saw. And even when I was there as a contributor, this kind of just dovetails in with everything that I saw. And I'm totally not surprised at this. And, I think with this too, when they talk about the stunning thing was he was talking about putting the death toll, the fatality numbers, the ticker in the lower third. That's a fear tactic. That's not news. That is fear. And you would think, James, that at the very least, considering how sensitive everybody has been about the pandemic and the lives lost, that there would at least be from the left some kind of that's at least that wasn't good, man. Maybe you shouldn't have done that. That's what I find also outrageous about this.
Well, he does sort of say he feels bad about the fact that he's saying I should. Well, actually, no, he says I shouldn't be doing this.
But he did.
So there is kind of I wouldn't say it's atonement, but it's almost like he knows it's wrong, but he thinks it's justified because, quote, fear sells. He says, this is the quiet part people usually don't say out loud. Again, it's as if it's like a Babylon Bee, spoof of what a CNN. No, this is real. This is nonfiction, folks. This is a real person, a director at CNN. And perhaps the most remarkable thing is, Dana, Jeff Zucker has put out a directive telling people not to say a peep about this. Now, Veritas means truth. I run from nothing. I hide from nothing. I never plead the Fifth Amendment, and I engage with people who talk to me. I've called Oliver Darcy. He hung up the phone. Oh. Brian Stelter, completely quiet. Jeff Zucker, putting out an order telling no one to say anything. Matt Dornick, the communications person at CNN. CNN is unable to defend what this man is saying, and they're running away from what this person, they're not defending it. They can't defend it. So their silence, this cone of silence, this Soviet-like quietness after this has been exposed, it speaks volumes. It means that they can't defend it, but they know that they can't announce that they're firing the person because that would just blow the story up. So it's very interesting to me that this story, they have not said a single word about. It's almost unprecedented for a story of this to be so big, and yet they won't say a word about it. Dana, I don't think that's sustainable. I think at some point they're going to have to address this.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think they absolutely have to, because it's too bad, and too many people are asking questions, and I think the number of questions are only, they're piling up. We're speaking with James O'Keefe, Project Veritas. I don't think this guy's going to lose his job for this. Or, he might get promoted. Who knows? What do you think?
I think that's a very interesting question. I think if they were to fire, it's a really interesting thing. If they fire him, okay, he's speaking the truth about the network. So it would be such a damning indictment against themselves. If they don't fire him, they're saying we authorize and approve of what he has said. So I think they're caught in they're caught between a rock and a hard place. Which is the worst option for them? It's probably worse to fire them for them, because it would draw more publicity to the story. So they're going to take the hit, as it were, and maybe keep this man on staff. The third thing that might happen here, Dana, is they might fire him quietly. We've seen this happen with Nick Dudick at the New York Times. Mm-hmm. We saw it with Steve Brusk at CNN, all of which were also, quote unquote, catfished by Project Veritas investigative reporters. Those individuals were fired, one by Dean Baquet. It was done quietly. Nobody reported it until months later. So there could be this guy could be fired on Friday night. He could be fired a week from now. But also I want to say on your show that we do intend to sue CNN for defamation. We've sued the New York Times for defamation, and we've won at the New York Supreme Court on motion to dismiss. So we're going to be launching lawsuits against CNN. It's time to sue these people. Mm-hmm. They lie without any accountability. We get past motion to dismiss in a defamation action. We can depose them under oath and videotape discovery. That's what we need to do. We need to use the courts to hold them accountable. No one has the balls to do it because people are afraid. They don't have the money. Project Veritas will take on that crusade. Veritas tips at protonmail.com is where people can go to if you're a plaintiff, if you're someone who has been defamed by the New York Times. I want to talk to you.
I think that's and I hope that you get people reaching out to you with that. And you actually went into right what I was going to ask you about, because the defamation suit, the Ana Cabrera was the reporter or propagandist, however you want to put it, and she was saying that a lot of things that weren't actually accurate. She lied about what was happening, and that you and was saying things like you guys were taken down, or some of this information was taken down, which and was just completely misrepresented, not just what you were doing, but also the scope of what you were doing. And this was actually when was this? This was this week that she had said this. Tell me, because did you watch her? How did you come by that information? As for when Cabrera was saying this about you and saying this about the expose that Project Veritas was doing.
That was this is a statement made by Cabrera a month or two ago. It was regarding our Twitter being taken down by Twitter. By Project Veritas Twitter account was taken down by Jack Dorsey, and the issue was we were taken down for quote unquote privacy violation.
And she was saying that it was because you all were spreading misinformation, and that's what ultimately did it. And that is because defamation.
It is, and we because she tweeted something out prior, we have the facts that show that she potentially knew what she was reporting was wrong, or she had reason to know. So she acted in, quote, reckless disregard of the truth, and that's the standard to get past motion to dismiss in a defamation lawsuit. I have to prove that the reporter was recklessly disregarding the truth. So we have that evidence from Cabrera. And, once we get past this stage of the lawsuit, we can conduct videotaped depositions under oath of CNN employees. Your audience listening right now, how much would you pay per view to see Brian Stelter in an under oath videotaped deposition across a table from me? Well, guess what, folks? That's exactly what's going to happen when we sue CNN, and no one's ever done this in American history.
I would totally pay
I guess
for
it's because people are afraid. They don't want to spend the money. It costs a lot of money to sue people, but I will gladly take on that fight. And I'm going to be deposing Dean Baquet, executive editor of the New York Times, Maggie Astor. These are New York Times reporters who lied about me and said I was a disinformation person who was deceptive. Well, a Supreme Court judge, Dana, a few weeks ago in New York State, of all places, said it was the New York Times that was engaging in disinformation and deception by labeling that. And the New York Times defense in court was, well, we were just expressing our opinion. And the judge was having none of it. The judge said, well, you shouldn't have put your opinion in a news article and made people believe that it was fact. And this is what these people do. They say this stuff. They just make stuff up or they opine about things. And then it gets recirculated and it becomes news. And all of a sudden it's on your Wikipedia page. Google is, using it to take your stuff down. And nobody fights back. Nobody fights back. Well, guess what? Veritas is fighting back a lot of these people. And it's time more people sue for defamation, in my opinion. And that's what we're going to do. And we're going to win. We're going to win.
How can people help besides send tips?
Well, we're a charitable organization. We're a nonprofit. We don't have advertisers. So donate is one way. Number two is to send us tips, information.
I'm going to stop you right at the donation. I'm going to stop you right at the donation thing, because you just made a huge point that I have been hammering for the better part of 2 months now. I'm tired of conservatives donating to think tanks and white papers. We need another think tank like we need, another hole in our backsides. We don't need it. We need people to fund things like this. We need people to fund things like what you do. So I hope that when people are writing checks, maybe send it to Project Veritas instead of sending it to another think tank for another stupid white paper that no one's going to care about in, a week to a month. Instead, they need to fund things like this, because you're doing exactly what conservatives needed to be doing for the past 20 years.
Thank you for saying that. I think people are afraid to be tip of the spear, and you don't have to be the tip of the spear yourself. You can simply contribute to the people who are. And exactly. I think people are afraid, Dana, conservatives, Republicans don't want to be tarred and feathered by people who buy ink by the barrel. They don't want to be disliked. It's a fear of being disliked by the New York Times, and they don't want to be disliked by CNN. They don't want to put themselves out there, but I'll put myself out there. And they can contribute to us. That's the most important thing, is to donate so that we can continue this. And also, if you want to apply to work here to do what this female journalist did, go to our website, projectveritas.com. We're taking applications for journalists. We'll train you. And those are all ways you can involve. Even if you can donate $10 or $100, everyone can afford that. We're tax deductible nonprofit organization. So that's how you can get involved.
Amen to that. James O'Keefe, always so good to see you, and congrats. This is a great story. You do such great work that really, more conservatives need to be doing. And if they can't do it, then they need to support it financially. So I'm going to donate to y'all, and I hope that other people do as well. And we'll put that out in the newsletter too. James, good to see you, my friend.
Thank you.